Oh, let's all moan here, man. 1/10 of a second. Just 1/10 of a second. And my mood definitely would have been a little different going in. You'll know exactly what I mean as it's time for another episode of. Hi there, it's Brett Hornby here. Welcome back to another episode of my Calgary Flames in 6 here. Here we are, still well in the episode season 2. This is episode number 12 here, as we'll look back on games 61 to 66 here in the 2019-20 NHL regular season here. And yeah, definitely one game in particular is why I had to moan, and many Flames fans are moaning about here, as we had yet another strange game that had some strange turn events here. However, there was also some tough games here that, there were some encouraging signs. However, the same old being consistent at being inconsistent, that definitely has been the theme for the Calgary Flames this season here. So before I go into how the last 6 games went for the Calgary Flames, if you want to follow along with this Calgary sports fans journey, home the Flames, Hitmen, Roughnecks, and Stampeders here. Just make sure you hit like, subscribe, and follow along with that bell icon there, as I mostly talk about Calgary sports, recap games, stories, and I also recently just did my Calgary Roughnecks this month as well. So if you want to follow along with how our lacrosse team is doing, I have that video there, as it just worked out that I had 2 game recaps to do at the same time there. I also do some personal logs and attempt at comedy, and I also share my experiences. Let's say I'm on the road on holidays or at a sporting event. To follow along with this Calgary sports fans journey, I also have my social media links down in the description below there, if you really want to follow along with this Calgary sports fans journey. So I always appreciate all the engagement that I have with my videos there, and I just definitely want to continue on, keep growing on this platform here. So without further ado, let's take a look how the last 6 games went for the Calgary Flames here, as I'll bring up my notes here and let's go here. So game 61, this happened on Family Day, Monday, February the 17th here. The Calgary Flames were taking on the Anaheim Ducks here. This was at the Scotiabank Saddledome, a 2 p.m. puck drop here. And definitely this game, the Calgary Flames were looking to rebound after the Chicago game, as they played the Saturday night before there. And you could see the last episode there that things definitely fell off the rails there for the Calgary Flames, and definitely was an opponent that we could have put away here. However, the Anaheim Ducks are definitely struggling this season, and this was definitely a game that we needed to get here. And, just with the strange quirk in the schedule here, this is actually the second time in 3 games we were taking on the Anaheim Ducks here. And we definitely won that game earlier, if you go back to the last episode here. So how things started off here is both teams looked strong, and things were looking encouraging for the Calgary Flames after the last game against the Chicago Blackhawks. There was no score in the report in the first period there, so it was 0-0 after 1 here. Second period, the Calgary Flames definitely took over in the play here. However, it was the Anaheim Ducks that opened up the scoring just before the 6-minute mark. It was Adam Henrique for the Anaheim Ducks. Makes 1-0 here. However, Andrew Mangiapane responded 53 seconds later to tie it up at 1-1 here. And I think you'll definitely be hearing his name a lot in this episode in particular here. Then it was Jacob Silberg for Anaheim, who makes it 2-1 just past the 10-minute mark. And despite the fact that Calgary was the better team overall on the ice here, and outplaying the Ducks here, they found themselves down 2-1 after the second period here. However, the third period, Calgary continued their strong play, but Anaheim, they found a way to add to their lead here, just past the 3-minute mark, as Nicolas Deloriers made it 3-1 Anaheim at this point here. However, the Calgary Flames finally were able to get rewarded with their strong play here and make the dog happy instead of laughing at us in the duck hunt game here. As a minute and a half later, it was Andrew Mangiapane who scored the second of the game here to make it 3-2 for Anaheim here. Then it was 19 seconds later, after the Andrew Mangiapane goal, Sam Bennett scores to tie this game up at 3-3 apiece here. Then the game stayed tied until Matthew Tkachuk, Mr. Clutch, scored his 20th goal of the season to make it 4-3 Calgary at the 13-minute mark. And then Sean Monahan, they're one of our key forwards here, a minute later makes it 5-3 for Calgary. So now Calgary is finally being rewarded with our strong play here. However, with Anaheim down by 2 and they pulled the goal here, on the face-off in the Calgary end, it was Andrew Mangiapane who was put on the ice, made sure he was paired with Sean Monahan and Johnny Gaudreau here, and it was Johnny Gaudreau who actually passed the puck to Andrew Mangiapane to put it away in the empty netter to make it 6-3 for Calgary in the final minute for the hat-trick. So Andrew Mangiapane, at this point, has 13 goals on the season here, including this being his first career hat-trick in the NHL here. Devin Shores did get a goal for Anaheim with 4 seconds left here. So ultimately, Calgary took this one 6-4 to get back on track here. And also to add in, this is also the last game before Calgary goes on a road trip here. Or actually, no, the second last game, as they had a 3-game homestand here. So Calgary took this one 6-4. Calgary also outshot the Anaheim Ducks 43-30 in here. Calgary, well, definitely were led by Andrew Mangiapane with 3 goals and assists there. Matthew Tkachuk also chipped in with a goal and assist there on the Anaheim side of the puck here. Jacob Silberg led for Anaheim with a goal and assist there. And then when it comes to the goaltending here, well, Cam Talbot definitely started again, as he did shut out the Ducks last time we played him. He made 26 saves for Calgary, while it was Ron Miller who made 37 saves for Calgary there. So this episode's looking good with a win against the Anaheim Ducks here. The dog is happy. I got Ducks here, and should also add in the Calgary Flames also wore their beautiful retro white jerseys here, and please bring those back, and I hope that's not the last time they wore them. Pretty please. I want those retros back. You can see my jersey ranking video on that too. So that was game 61. Game 62 here. So this was the last game of the homestand here. Didn't happen until Friday, February the 21st here, as the Calgary Flames were taking on the Boston Bruins. And that was a 7 p.m. puck drop here to wrap up the 3-game homestand before heading out on a 5-game road trip here. And this was definitely a challenge here, as the Calgary Flames were taking on the NHL's best team at this point here. And actually, Calgary did start off very fast here, as Mikael Backlund opens up the scoring 20 seconds in. And then Mikael Backlund again gets his second of the game just past the 2.5-minute mark. So Calgary had an early 2-0 lead in this game. Boston, however, did get on the board as Patrice Bergeron 24 seconds later. But it was Johnny Gaudreau for Calgary that scored 25 seconds later. So it was a 3-1 game for Calgary just before the 3.5-minute mark here. One thing to note here, Calgary's 3 goals in a 3-minute and 23-second stretch here was the franchise record for the fastest 3 goals to start off a game here. So Calgary's looking good against the best team in the league with an early 3-1 lead here. And Mikael Backlund definitely has picked up his play recently here. And I actually did see an article from the Hockey Writers here that a lot of pressure they put a lot of pressure on Mikael Backlund, that how he does going down the stretch here will definitely decide if the Calgary Flames will get in the playoffs or not. Well, he is our second-line center there, but so far things are looking good here. However, Boston did get back in the game here as another, versatile checking forward that we have. And Mikael Backlund, well, as Patrice Bergeron for Boston here, gets his second of the game just past the 6-minute mark. So now it's 3-2 Calgary at this point here. Then Boston ties it up at 3-3 here, just before the 12-minute mark, as Charlie Coyle. So now, all that early start that the Calgary Flames had is now wiped out, as it's now a 3-3 game at this point here, and that's how things stood after a wild first period. However, I say Calgary did keep up and play with Boston here. However, in the first period, Boston had a slight edge in shots here, but, I'm going to say things still looked encouraging for the Calgary Flames in terms of keeping up with the league's best team here. Second period here, Boston did take the lead as Brad Marchand, everybody's favorite pest here. We also have probably one of the league's best pests in Matthew Tkachuk here. Makes it 4-3 Boston at the 53-second mark here. So after Calgary had a quick 3-1 lead, quickest 3 goals in franchise history to start the game here, now Boston early in the second period has a 4-3 lead here. Calgary did pick up the play after the first period, but there was no scoring report after the Brad Marchand goal. So it was 4-3 Boston going in the third period here. Like I say, one storyline is matchup. I mentioned Brad Marchand and Matthew Tkachuk playing each other, but it would have been funny to see them both fight here, but, maybe you can't have two nuclear powers going at each other here. However, Matthew Tkachuk did fight for Calgary with Jeremy Lausen for Boston. Just before the 11-minute mark, so after the Brad Marchand goal, the Brad Marchand goal, that fight was the only thing I would highlight in the second period there. Third period here, Calgary did keep up with Boston and play, but there was no scoring in this one, so ultimately after a fast start for Calgary here, Boston ultimately won this one 4-3, but Calgary didn't play too bad against the top team in the league here, so there's kind of a look at it more one way there. Unfortunately, it's the wins and losses that count in standings here. Boston did have the slight shot and edge in shots, 23-21 here. Calgary, well, we were led by Mikael Backlund with 2 goals there. Boston was led by Patrice Bergeron. He had 2 goals, and Brad Marchand had a goal and assist there. Cam Talbot, he made 19 saves for Calgary, while Yaroslav Halak made 18 saves for Boston here. So we had a so-so 3-game homestand here, but now the Calgary Flames take on a 5-game road trip here. So game 63, this happened on Sunday, February the 23rd here, as the Calgary Flames went from one extreme to the other here, as they went to Detroit here to take on the Detroit Red Wings at the Little Caesars Arena, 5 p.m. puck drop here. As I said, started off a 5-game road trip against the league's worst team in the league, and actually Detroit is so far behind here that coming in this game, the Detroit Red Wings are now officially eliminated from playoff contention here. So Calgary definitely needed to have this game here. And let's just say, so far, Calgary did start off well here, as Johnny Gaudreau, 16th of the season, makes it 1-0 for Calgary here, past the 6.5-minute mark. Then Sean Monahan makes it 2-0. That was his 19th goal of the season at that point, just past the 8-minute mark, so Calgary had a 2-0 lead. First 8 minutes in the first period there against the Detroit Red Wings. Well, we should be able to beat the lowly Detroit Red Wings this season. However, Detroit gets on the board here as Dylan Larkin, one of their few young stars right now, just past the 15.5-minute mark. So it was 2-1 Calgary at this point here, and Calgary led 2-1 after the first period here against Detroit here. Second period, the Calgary did continue their play, but Detroit, despite as bad as they've been this season, did play hard, and they don't get blown out too often here. Calgary did add another goal, but it wasn't until with 11 seconds to go in the second period here. It was Andrew Mangiapane got his 14th goal here, so Calgary, with that late goal in the second period, takes a 3-1 lead going into the third period here. Detroit did play strong in the third period and actually were pushing back and definitely playing for the pride, even though they know they're out of the playoff picture here. It was Dylan Larkin that scored his second of the game to make it 3-2. But it wasn't until the 18-minute mark exactly, but Calgary was able to put it away with an empty netter 12 seconds later to win this one 4-2 here. Calgary did outshoot Detroit 31-29 in this one. It was a win at the end of the day, that's all that matters. I mean, it was kind of damn you do, damn you don't, but as long as you win, that's all that matters. Calgary was led by Andrew Mangiapane. He had 2 goals here. Sean Monahan added a goal and assist there. And Noah Haffin chipped in with 2 assists there. Detroit was led by Dylan Larkin. He had 2 goals here. And when it comes to the goaltending side of the story here, Dave Riddick, he made 27 saves for the Calgary Flames. Well as Jonathan Bernier, he made 27 saves for Detroit there. And also the note that was the last game before the NHL Trade Deadline there. And I made this video talking about what the Calgary Flames did on the trade deadline the next day there, as the Flames did enough activity for me to warrant to make a video about that, so I made that video. You can take a look at my feelings on what the Calgary Flames did at the trade deadline here. So game 64, this happened on Tuesday, February 25th here, as the Calgary Flames were taking on the Boston Bruins again. Second time in 3 games here, so definitely got a lot of Boston Bruins. But this time at the TD Garden, as a 5 p.m. puck drop here. To continue on the road trip here, so we played the worst team in the league, now we're back and playing the best team in the league here. And I said second time in 3 games. Also, this was the first game after the trade deadline. And this was a debut for both defenseman Derek Forbort and Eric Gustafsson here. Derek Forbort, who wore number 24 with Los Angeles, Travis Hamonic has that number, so he's wearing number 20 for the Calgary Flames. And Eric Gustafsson, who wore 56 for Chicago, is still wearing 56 for the Calgary Flames here. So those are two new defensemen. Welcome to the Calgary Flames here. So, and also to highlight here, those trades needed were to be made to patch up our defense here. Actually, Mark Giordano, who did join the team on the road trip here, anticipated he was going to play here. It was a game time decision coming into this game here. However, he did not actually play here. And how this one looked? Well, Calgary once again looked strong against Boston to get pace here, so definitely encouraging here. And Calgary did open up the scoring just past the 11.5 minute mark as Matthew Tkachuk got his 21st of the season. And it was 1-0 for Calgary after the first period there. So once again, things were looking good against the Boston Bruins here. Second period, Boston did tie it up as Brad Marchand got both Pests got involved on the goal sheet here. As Brad Marchand gives Boston on the board, ties it up here just past the 10-minute mark. And then Sean Monahan got his 20th goal of the season to give Calgary lead just before the 13.5 minute mark. And then Sean Monahan again gets his second just before over a minute later. So after that, Calgary now has a 3-1 lead against Boston in the second period there. 3-1 lead going into the third period here, and it definitely looks encouraging against the league's best team here. Third period, Calgary was the better team on this night for sure, and they continued to show and press on here. Boston did get within one here as Chris Wager just past the 13-minute mark, with it being 3-2 at that point here. However, Mikael Backlund definitely has been continuing a strong play recently. Scores the dagger at the 18.5 minute mark to make it 4-2 here at this point. And then Mikael Backlund again gets the second of the game, 14th of the season, to put away in the empty net. So it was 5-2 here, and ultimately the Calgary Flames, they beat the league's best team 5-2 here. Calgary was led by Mikael Backlund, 2 goals and assists there. Those hockey writers definitely have a point here that Mikael Backlund is definitely one of the key players if the Calgary Flames were to make the playoffs here. And as well, Matthew Tkachuk chipped in with a goal and 2 assists here. Sean Monahan also scored 2 goals here. And then speaking of players making their debut here, well, Eric Gustafsson also got his first point as a Calgary Flame with assist on the power play there. And definitely one of the reasons why we made that trade to get him here. When it comes to the goaltending here, David Reddick made 26 saves for Calgary. Well, this time it was Tuukka Rask, who was in net for Boston here, made 26 saves here. What's still significant about this win for Calgary against Boston in Boston here, that this was our only the third regulation loss at home for the Boston Bruins here. And Tuukka Rask had a 20-point home game streak that ended from the Calgary Flames here. So that was game 64 here. Now, game 65 here. This happened on Thursday, February the 27th here. This is definitely one of the big swing game here for the Calgary Flames on the road here, as we were taking on the Nashville Predators at the Bridgestone Arena, 6 p.m. puck drop here. May I say, another wild game in Nashville here, because if you recall, if you go earlier in the season here, the Flames and Predators definitely had a wild one in Nashville on Halloween night of all nights here. So, and definitely, when you look at the standings here, this was definitely a huge swing game here. And also, before I get into the game here, Mark Giordano does return from the lineup from hamstring injury. So Mark Giordano, our captain, is finally back in the lineup here. First period, both teams look strong and was evenly played here. You expect that with the potential, playoff races and the big swing here. Nashville did open up the scoring not until just under 30 seconds to go in the first period by Colton Sissons. So Nashville had a 1-0 lead after the first period there. Calgary in the second period strikes back very early. So Nashville scored very late. So Calgary scored very early here as Rasmus Andersson ties it up 26 seconds into the second period here. And then Mikael Backlund continues his strong play recently just over 3 minutes later. That was his 15th of the season. And Calgary had a 2-1 lead at this point here. Another closely matched period, and Calgary did held on with a 2-1 lead after the second period there. Then the third period, half of the period was evenly matched, and then things got a little wild here, I'll say there. Getting back to what I was moaning about at the beginning here. First, Nashville ties it up at 2-2, and Roman Josi scores just at the 14.5 minute mark. So it was a 2-2 game here. The game stays 2-2 going into the final minute here. So this one could be going to overtime or need a shootout or get decided regulation here. Well, it looked like Calgary did score the dagger, as at the 17-minute mark of the third period here, Andrew Mangiapane, another guy that's definitely been surging lately, makes it a 3-2 game there at that point. Then Nashville, looking for the equalizer, got the equalizer just in the nick of time. As in fact, with just 1/10 of a second left, Mikael Backlund makes it a 3-3 game here. And this one needed overtime to our chagrin here. Just 1/10 of a second. Then, in overtime, on the edge in the play, because Nashville definitely outplayed Calgary. You're definitely getting that boost of energy by tying it up with 1/10 of a second here. Mikael Backlund again scored that tying goal with 1/10 of a second left here. Scores the overtime winner, 1:20 in. So Nashville definitely comes from behind in dramatic fashion with a 4-3 win and closed the gap in the playoff race. This game definitely was just as wild as that game against Halloween there, where Calgary came back and scored late and scored like 2 seconds to go in overtime there. So could that have been payback for that? Calgary did actually outshoot Nashville 39-38 in this one, but Nashville had a 2-0 shot advantage in overtime here. Calgary was led by Mikael Backlund with a goal and 2 assists there, and Rasmus Andersson had a goal and assist there. Nashville was led by Mikael Granlund. Definitely, he scored 2 goals exactly when it counted the most. Ryan Ellis chipped in with 3 assists, and Colin Blackwell had 2 assists there. So when it comes to the goaltending side of the game, Dave Riddick made 34 saves for Calgary, while UC Saros made 36 saves for Nashville. Yeah, let's just say this was definitely a tough loss for Calgary, but I guess we could sell for a point, but 1/10 of a second. Oh, man, that one definitely hurts there. So, the last game of this episode here before I go on some other business here. Game 66, this happened on Saturday, February the 29th here. The Calgary Flames were continuing on the road trip as they went to Florida here to take on the Tampa Bay Lightning here at the Mile Arena here, 2 p.m. puck drop here. Some afternoon delight, and this is against the second best team in the NHL here, and Tampa Bay Lightning definitely have been surging here in recent months and definitely look like the team that look like they're on a mission here, and ever since 2004, Tampa Bay has been on my hit list here. And Tampa Bay sure looked like the better team. That's a Stanley Cup contender, as Calgary did struggle for most of this game here. Yeah, Tampa Bay got on the board just before the 14-minute mark as Tyler Johnson makes it 1-0 for Tampa Bay, and that's how things stood after the first period there. But Tampa Bay definitely looked like the better team here. The one theme that we could say about this game here is Tampa Bay definitely capitalized on special teams here, as they scored that goal on the power play on a Dylan Dubé penalty, and that was actually the only penalty in the first period there. Second period, Tampa Bay special teams strike again. Unattended, or not, because it's Tampa Bay Lightning. First on the power play, Tampa Bay made it 2-0 just past the 7-minute mark as Andre Palat scores. Then Tampa Bay strikes while short-handed. Well, just before the 12-minute mark, it was Yanni Gordy who makes it 3-0 for Tampa Bay at this point here. However, Calgary was able to get on the board just under a minute later and a half later, as Andrew Mangiapane scores the 17th. It's now 3-1 for Tampa Bay just after the 14-minute mark of the second period there. Then just under a minute later, it was Elias Lindholm. He got his 28th of the season here for Calgary. So now it's 3-2 for Tampa Bay at this point here. However, Tampa Bay just before the 15-minute mark, actually 53 seconds later, after Calgary scored those 2 goals there, it was Alex Killorn who scores for Tampa Bay, and now Tampa Bay had a 4-2 lead after the second period. Third period, Tampa Bay was able to protect the lead, and Calgary could not break through Tampa Bay's defense for much of the third period. However, was there some hope here as Sean Monahan got his 22nd of the goal on the power play to make it 4-3 there just past the 17-minute mark, so it was 4-3 Tampa Bay at this point here. However, Calgary could not get the equalizer, and Tampa Bay ultimately takes this one 4-3, as they definitely showed they were the better team right now, and they're definitely on a mission here. And you got to put Tampa Bay up there as a very, very strong Stanley Cup contender here. Tampa Bay also definitely outshot the Calgary Flames 33-21 years. They definitely had the edge in play for much of the game here. Calgary was led by Elias Lindholm. He had a goal and assist there. On the Tampa Bay side of the puck here was Nikita Kucherov and Mikael. Each chipped in with 2 assists there. And they got balanced scoring everywhere else there. And keep in mind that Steven Stamkos is going to be out for a couple months here. As he's out with an injury there, so Calgary definitely did not have to worry about Steven Stamkos there. But this Tampa Bay Lightning team definitely is looking deep right now, and gotta respect them putting June 2004 aside there. I'm going to say, when it comes to the goaltending here, Dave Riddick made 29 saves for Calgary, while Andrew Vasilevsky, who made 18 saves for the Tampa Bay Lightning there. So where do the Calgary Flames sit after 66 games here? Well, we got 33 wins, 26 losses, and 7 overtime shield losses. For 73 points here, it puts us 4th in the Pacific Division. Still in the wild card here, so let's. I'm just going to look at the standings for this episode here, as I've thrown out some stats here, and it'll get too redundant if I did it every episode here. So let's just take a look at the standings, shall we? To look at the whole league and keep lamenting on potential playoff matchups here, as some races are definitely heating up here, and definitely still heating up here in the West here. So let's go East first. So in the Atlantic Division here, the Boston Bruins are in first place. They have 94 points after 66 games. And then the Tampa Bay Lightning are second. They have 87 points after 65 games. Then in third place, it's the Toronto Maple Leafs. They have 78 points after 66 games. So now when it comes to the Metropolitan here, the Washington Capitals are in second right now, as they have 84 points in 64 games. Second place is the Philadelphia Flyers. They've been surging here. They have 81 points in 64 games. Then the Pittsburgh Penguins run up the top 3. They have 80 points in 64 games here. Now when it comes to the Eastern Conference wildcard here, the first wildcard goes to the New York Islanders in 78 points in 64 games. Then the Columbus Blue Jackets, they have 76 points in 66 games here. And now when it comes to the outside looking in here, well, the Carolina Hurricanes, they have 75 points in 64 games here. New York Rangers, they definitely been surging. They're only 2 points behind. They have 74 points in 64 games. And the Florida Panthers, they have 73 points in 65 games here. I would say after that, the line probably gets off there. If you're below Florida in the Eastern Conference, I think you're probably likely done here. As the Montreal Canadiens in 69 points in 67 games. And you got Buffalo with 66 points in 65 games. Jersey Devils 62 points in 64 games. Ottawa Senators 58 points in 66 games. And Detroit Red Wings, 35 points in 67 games here. So I'm going to say Florida is where I cut the line for any teams that realistically have a shot in the Eastern Conference here. So when it comes to potential playoff matchups as of this point here, Boston has the best record, so they would be hosting the Columbus Blue Jackets in the first round here. And then the Washington Capitals will be taking on the New York Islanders. Barry Trotz, that would be interesting. And then Tampa Bay would host Toronto. And we'll have a battle, Pennsylvania. Philadelphia will be hosting Pittsburgh. So that's the playoffs as of this recording here. So let's go out west here. So in the Pacific Division here, the Vegas Golden Knights have slowly been pulling away here. They have 80 points in 66 games. Second place is the Edmonton Oilers. They have 76 points in 65 games. And the Vancouver Canucks round up the top 3. They have 74 points in 64 games here. Then out in the Central here, the St. Louis Blues have 88 points in 66 games. Then the Colorado Avalanche have 85 points in 64 games. And the Dallas Stars have 81 points in 65 games around the top 3 in the Central there. So when it comes to the wild card here, the Calgary Flames, they have 73 points in 66 games. And then the second wild card is the Nashville Predators. They have 72 points in 64 games here. Now, outside looking in here, well, definitely we've got 3 teams to watch behind here, as the Winnipeg Jets have 72 points in 67 games. The Arizona Coyotes have 72 points in 67 games. And the last team I would say could still potentially be in it is Minnesota Wild. They have 71 points in 64 games here. So definitely we're feeling the heat here as the Calgary Flames still could be in the top 3 or could also just be out here. Because after that, Chicago has 66 points, 65 games. I don't think they're going to make it now. Anaheim has 60 points in 64 games. San Jose has 60 points in 65 games. And Los Angeles Kings have 54 points in 65 games here. So like I said, the Calgary Flames, right now we're actually 7 points behind Vegas to get first in the Pacific there. And Vegas looks like they're definitely getting together here. Although we're, 3-4 points behind for getting home ice in the first round. However, we're only 1 point up on 3 teams and 4 on Minnesota there. And some teams have games in hand on us, but we also have games in hand on Arizona and Winnipeg here. So we still got to keep looking behind here. So that's the standings here. So before I get into closing out this episode here, so the next 6 games here, which will be episode 13 here. So game 67, it will be on Sunday, March the 1st here. The Calgary Flames will be taking on the Florida Panthers at the BB&T Center, 2 p.m. puck drop here to wrap up this 5-game road trip here. And Florida is also a team that's also fighting to get in the playoffs here, so that's going to be interesting. And then game 68, the Calgary Flames come back home here on Wednesday, March the 4th here, as the Calgary Flames will be taking on the Columbus Blue Jackets. That'll be a 6:30 puck drop at the Scotiabank Saddledome here. Another team that's trying to stay in the thick of things. And surprisingly with the Columbus Blue Jackets, they have been overcoming injuries and staying competitive here. So, and then game 69, Friday, March the 6th here. Here's a big game, big divisional matchup here. As we are taking on the Arizona Coyotes, that'll be a 7 p.m. puck drop at the Scotiabank Saddledome here. That's one big game. And then Sunday, March the 8th here, the Calgary Flames will be taking on the Vegas Golden Knights. That'll be a 5 p.m. puck drop at Scotiabank Saddledome. So that's definitely going to be a big swing game to potentially, hopefully, close the gap a little with the Vegas Golden Knights there. And then on game 71, this will be on Thursday, March the 12th here. The Calgary Flames will be taking on the New York Islanders here. That'll be a 7 p.m. puck drop at the Scotiabank Saddledome here. And that's another team that's also fighting in the Eastern Conference here. And then game 72, another huge game here. As on Saturday, March the 14th here, the Calgary Flames will be taking on the Winnipeg Jets. Hockey Night Canada, 8 p.m. puck drop at the Scotiabank Saddledome here. So after the Calgary Flames spend some time on the road here, they definitely got 5 games at home here. I'm going to say 3 of those games are definitely going to be massive in terms of playoff races here, to potentially pull away from the Arizona Coyotes, Winnipeg Jets, and close the gap with the Vegas Golden Knights here. And one thing the Calgary Flames definitely also need to pick up their play is picking up their play at home here, as they definitely have been struggling at home here. And hopefully, seeing the standings and seeing what's on the schedule here, that might, refocus them here. So that's my Calgary Flames in 6 here. So as I say, if you want to follow along with this Calgary sports fans journey, home of the Flames, Hitmen, Roughnecks, and Stampeders here, just make sure you hit like, subscribe, and follow along by hitting that bell icon to be notified as soon as this Calgary sports fan uploads anything. I also do personal blogs, attempt to call me, and share my experience. Let's say I'm at the road or ask where I've been. So if you want to follow along with this Calgary sports fans journey, I also have my social media links in the description below there for other platforms to follow me on. As I say, go Flames go, and let's hang on for every second of the game here, and we'll see where we are at in the next 6 games here. Is definitely things are definitely heating up here. I liked what we did at the deadline to patch up our blue line here, but we need to start doing better at home here. We need to make the Sea of Red give us the advantage that we definitely had, especially back in the day there. And the Sea of Red looks beautiful there, but it only looks beautiful when we are winning here. So, as I say, go Flames go, and I'll see you in the next video here.